to be talking about creating multiplayer 3D environments in the browser. And there's going to be a few things. I made this experience earlier this year. It was like a personal project, and I had to do a little bit of everything on it. 3D modeling, art direction, WebGL development, technical art, multiplayer. So I'm going to be covering like some topics that are maybe more developer focused, but I think it's like an overview of the whole project that hopefully you like it as much as I did. This is a small video of the project. So as you can see, you enter an environment and you're a small kid, and you can explore it. So you can go to the woods, you can go to the beach. There are some hidden secrets that you can find and discover. There's a beach and some like birds, a road, and a sloth. I use that as a like avatar everywhere. So I put a sloth in there. So the motivations that I had to do this project were to practice some procedural 3D modeling. These are some sketches that I've been doing on my spare time. I don't post them anywhere, like they're just on my hard drive. But I really like the idea of making like one of these things like procedurally with like code and algorithms and a little bit of like manual tweaking, but like automating a lot of things. And another motivation was to be able to do, so when you see something on Awwwards, a project, you are like, or at least I think, oh, I think I know how to make that. But until you actually make it, you don't really know like all the small details, how to make this texture work, how this animation. So I saw some of these experiences before, and I was like, yeah, I want to do one of those to learn all these like small details and all these things. But also more importantly, I had this, I saw this tweet like 5 years ago, and it's made by a guy named Nathan. And I have a to-do list of things, and I saw this onion running around and collecting these circular things. And I was like, yeah, I have to do this. So like 5 years later, this is my take at doing the running onion. And of course, like some really cool projects by really talented agencies and people. Secret Skype by Active Theory, Coastal World by Mercy Michel, and Sojen by Utsubo. There are others, but these are just the three that, I don't know, were more influential to me when I first saw them. And yeah, Sites of the Month, and yeah, super impressive stuff. So starting the development. This is a bit sad, but this is how I started things. I'm a developer mostly these days, technical artist developer. So I started with like focusing on the development, which maybe is not the best. For this project, I think it's kind of okay, but yeah, there are many ways to start one of these. So what do I need? I need a character, a floor, and I need that character to be to have a nose or to know like where it's going, because yeah, you have to code all the systems. So I made this thing. So start with the controls and the camera system. For the controls, yeah, this is where like the talk shows that it was a developer talk. So sorry, apologies for that. But you need to know like where the character goes. You need to have the vectors, the direction, the magnitude. Also very interesting because it's gonna show later. You need to know where the up vector is. The up vector is like a pointer that it's on your head, and basically our up vector is not the same one as someone from Sydney in Australia. Their up vector is pointing somewhere else. So that is important to know when these experiences, because the moment, I don't know, you want to make like a glove and everyone should like be attracted by the gravity, that up vector becomes a thing. So this is the first version of the thing. I was pretty proud about this back in the day, and yeah. So next is the camera. The camera, you need to like point at the character, and you need to control it. And the camera is important because when someone, I don't know, it's on an iPad and goes to the right, if the camera is behind me, if I'm the character, if the user wants me to go to the right, it's on that direction. But if like you are the character and the camera is behind you and they go to the right, it's that direction. So the camera, like you need to take care of all those things, all those details. Where is the camera at, so the character can go one way or another. So yeah, that took a little bit of time. And finally, the physics. I made like a simple like physics system that you get the gravity, you can jump, so you add the force to the character. And yeah, and also different frame rates. I think maybe this could apply for not specifically 3D websites, but also for all kinds of websites. When we do like satisfying animations and interpolations, it's nice to test things on, I don't know, like a latest iPhone. I think it goes at 120 FPS, and an older one, because the physics and all these systems, like sometimes they rely on the frame rate. So it's good. I do, for example, I have two monitors. I put one in 60 FPS, another one in like 144, I think it is, and to test things like everywhere. So every user, I don't know, it would be very sad. There's a fly somewhere. It would be very sad for a user to run like faster than other users. So you need to keep those things in mind. And this is the version 1 of the character. And as you can see here, I was dragging the camera. I was doing this, and like maybe like video games. So the snowman could jump and could go to places. But I noticed that that camera was not. It's more maybe for gamers, you know, that are used to moving the camera and things like that. So this is the version 2 of the camera. As you can see, as you move the mouse, like it tilts a little bit, so it gives some depth to the experience. Also has some like kind of like floaty animation on it, so it's more alive, and it automatically follows the character. So you don't have to drag anything, you just go places and the camera follows you. I tried this on an iPad with my mom, so to see if she could navigate the environment, and she could. So to me, that was proof that this is maybe best for non-gamers. So yeah. And collisions. Basically, like all of these like beautiful environments that we see on video games, on experiences, they all like look like this thing at the bottom. They look like triangles. So when we have a character that, I don't know, you bump into a tree and we want the character to go against the tree, you need to test when against those triangles. And to do that, that's very expensive on a browser these days. So you need to come up with like techniques and strategies. And there's one thing called acceleration structures that you have all these triangles. So you divide them in squares, and you decide in what square the character is. And basically, you just test against those triangles. And these are tests. Those squares you see are like these kind of acceleration structures, the visual representation of them. So yeah, that's. And for that, I use a library that is open source, and it's very nice. It's made by Garrett Johnson. And it allows you to do all these things in a very nice way. If I had to do one of these, it would have taken me like a long time, like months, really. So yeah, and once you have all of these systems coming together, you can start like seeing something visual. You can start like having fun a little bit, and you can like do a small planet, like King Kai's little planet test here, where you are a character and you can just like walk around, and everything rotates, and the possibilities are I don't know, enormous. You can do like all sorts of things when you have these things working. And also another test, like an Inception type of environment. So if you imagine these cubes are buildings, you can build like one of those like cities that are, I don't know, crawl over you, which are, I don't know, could be pretty nice. All right, so now concept, art, style, and sound. So the main goal I had with this experience was to do procedural art, but also to convey a feeling. The feeling of nostalgia, I think it's a very powerful one, especially as we grow older. We start like remembering old times of the past. And actually, when we see WebGL things, it's very good at like conveying like technology and flashy things. So I don't know, you can do very cool things and very bright things with WebGL, but I think there's a little bit of like underrepresentation of other type of experiences, so others that convey more like a sad feeling or fear or like nostalgia. So I wanted to do something a bit different than the flashy, technological, very cool WebGL thing that maybe we are more used to seeing these days. Yeah, and I'm from Spain, so I miss the Mediterranean villages in the summer, so I wanted to have a little bit of that. I did that in the winter, so that's probably why. If I had to do that in the summer, maybe it would have been like, I don't know, winter afternoon. So, well, not really, but maybe. Art style and look, simple but elegant, warmer colors, some Zelda, Miyazaki vibes, a style that could be translated into low polygons, so I'm like an imposter here. I'm not like a 3D modeler, so I know my limitations. So I have to go with a style that kind of embrace my limitations and work with them rather than try to fight them. And also texture and workflow, very simple. Something with flat colors. I didn't want to get into like painting a lot of detail into things. So yeah, and finally the sound and the music. The guitar, I tried a bunch of things, and the guitar was what works best, or what worked best for my experiment. Adding too many sounds seemed to worsen the overall experience. I wanted it to be very calm, very chill, very like yeah, calm, let's say. So adding stuff, adding like jump sound or colliding sounds seemed to worsen that feeling. And I also had to tweak the sounds. So if they were too flat, I would add like a dog barking or birds chirping or things like that. So as you can see, this is me like doing a lot of stuff that I'm not used to and trying to figure out like how to do all of that like in a okay way. So yeah. 3D modeling. Well, for the scene assembly, I use Houdini. It's a program that it's very powerful. If you see like I don't know, VFX houses or movies, studios that produce movies, they're using it more and more these days because it's a program that accepts all types of geometry, simulations, and you can put like really heavy scenes, and it's procedural. So it means that if you change one thing, like you don't do it manually, you don't do it like you don't drag things and that's it. You try to do it in a way where like changes are automatic. So someone tells you, I want the light like coming from a different side, and I want the simulation to do something else. In Houdini, that's doable. In other programs, it's like really hard to do that. So I use that for this. And finally, the main goal of doing this was to do practice some procedural modeling. And these are some tests that I do for fun. And the pros of procedural modeling is that you get infinite variations of things. So if you model like, I don't know, like a W, you can get like many types of Ws, or you can get like many types of benches, just dragging a few sliders, changing some parameters. And you don't distract things, so you can, everything, you can make it wider, taller, whatever you want, and it's okay. The cons is like, if you want to do an animal, for example, it's really hard to do this procedurally, or like a person. But and some simple things sometimes require some very clever approaches. Some like, you are proud of yourself for doing some really simple thing that someone could have done just by dragging like a point in another program. So yeah, this is me doing a little bit of procedural modeling. This is a tree. So as you can see, start with the base, then put some spheres, put more spheres, try to do some foliage, try to do some like stylized look type of thing with volumes, adding UVs, adding some detail, and doing it low poly. This is a rock. So to apply some noises, some Boolean operations, and you do a rock. This is a street lamp. So you just model that. And this is the main environment, the main land. So I do a tunnel there, and then apply some noise to put some mountains in there. And then instead of like placing rocks and placing grass, I just draw the density map, let's say, and then I want more grass, less grass, and it automatically places everything. So it's really nice. You don't have to place all the rocks manually. You just like drag a slider, and you have rocks everywhere. Less rocks, okay, drag the slider back, and less rocks. So it's pretty cool. It's used on video games that we see, open world video games. These type of techniques are very, very widely used, and everyone is kind of like try to automate all these things, because creating nature by hand is like a massive task. Another thing that I discovered in the process is gray boxing. Gray boxing is great. It's this type of, when you do one of these environments, doing the design, it's something closer to designing like a physical space, like an installation. It's like, okay, this is too big, or I want more space in there. So not committing to anything and trying to use placeholders, it's really great when you do this type of things. And to iterate quickly. It enables you to try, I don't know, does this feel right? I need a bigger bush or more bushes there. I need like another house in there. So that is very nice. And finally, some destructive modeling. It's, like I said, great for organic elements, has so many pros, but I'm not very good at that. So I try to also know my limitations. I modeled this alien up here in the right. And I didn't know at that time that aliens were going to be that popular that year. So I'm pretty happy about that. It looks like the Mexican aliens that the Mexican government like published a month ago. And this is me like doing some tests to get familiar with the tools. This is a robot dancing better than I do. Another robot. I saw an illustration by a very good artist and tried to do that, put some animations on it. And this is the main character of the experience, the kid. The experience, I didn't mention this, but it's multiplayer, so people can join, and there's many kids. And when I designed this kid, I made this test, and I put like 10 kids, and they were like smiling, looking at each other, and they look like sociopaths. So what I did was to remove the mouth. So this is the final model of the experience, and as you can see, it doesn't have any mouth. And it used to have a backpack, but I removed that because I was wondering, like, what is he carrying? So I just like, yeah. And then I brought it up to the Houdini, to the 3D program that I mentioned, to do like fingers animations and all this type of things. And of course, like all of these experiences require a lot of optimizations, a lot of tricks, a lot of things that maybe were not intended. And like in an ideal world, you just put like everything you have in there, it works and it's great. But like in practice, on an iPhone 7, it's very junky, for example. So you need to make sure that it runs well, like on most devices. So for that, I wrote my own exporters. So when you are on a 3D program, you can say export to something. And those exporters that are open source are great. But sometimes you want to be more custom. Sometimes you want to have more control on everything. So I wrote mine with Python. And in the process, you see a lot of weird stuff. This is like funny, weird stuff. But I've seen like really bad stuff, like you know, with that character and others while I was writing these exporters. So yeah. And this is a bird. So you can see very low poly bird, but this is a 3D program, and this is a browser. So I made sure like everything was OK, was nicely animated. One of these techniques is fast room calling, which means that you just take care of what's on the view of the user. So if you have trees behind you, you just don't render those, and that requires some optimization, which is what this camera at the bottom is doing. It doesn't render anything that is behind it. So there is something you have to take care of when making one of these. Another thing is, let's say it's automatic splitting, I call it that way, but imagine we're rendering like one of these towers. Maybe we can split it into 3. And if the user is just looking at the bottom, you just don't render the upper part of the tower. So you can automate this with the 3D programs if you take care of like all of the details. And another thing is LODs, it's level of detail. So imagine we have a tree. We don't want to put like a really detailed tree like everywhere. You want to put like a slightly less detailed tree at the distance in a very sad-looking one far away, because the users cannot tell the difference. And as they become closer, as they reach these trees, you increase the density of the polygons, basically, to make them nicer and to look nicer. So yeah. This is an example of the LOD technique with a tower. You can see the 3D program. This is the maximum quality. This is medium quality. And this is low quality. And as you can see, it doesn't change a lot. Like the shape is more or less the same, but the difference is like half of the poly count, which is like, imagine like lots of towers. I mean, we're doing a lot of optimization in this side. Sky, birds, and shadows. Sky has some like technical difficulties, so you can use this trick on the bottom right. Zelda games, I don't know if you have played them. I played like I think pretty much all of them. So one of the tricks that they use on I think this is the Nintendo 64, is to draw like a cube with the sky, just where the camera is, so you don't have to draw it like huge, because like in WebGL, as distances grow, the precision gets lower, you know, start having issues. So this is one optimization you can do. For birds, simple system again. Like I just draw a curve in the 3D program, and I make like simulation, so the birds follow that curve and in flocks, and it looks like they are going somewhere, but no, they're just like following a curve. You know, it's a very simple trick. And shadows again. Mobile phones have a lot of limitations, so I render one big shadow and then one small one that follows the player, and I blend between those based on distance, and that gives you the illusion, oh my god, everything has shadows, but no, it's just really like a trick, like most of these things. Texturing, workflows, and color. I use a single texture, as you can see here on the right. This is all the colors of the experience are in that small PNG. And I just, I say, the number 1, this is color, number 2 is this color, and that's how I colored the whole experience. I made a tool, so I could like stream texture changes directly into the browser. So I could paint almost with like Photoshop. I could just drag the colors. And as you can see, the color of the trees are changing. So it was really nice to have this, because at some point I was looking at a house and I was like, oh, I need to make it like, more brown or whatever. So yeah, if I had to go to Photoshop, save, refresh the page or something, that would have been like huge pain. So having this workflow worked really well. And finally, LUTs. When you do this type of experiences, sometimes it's very easy to add post-processing with code, and that works for like a lot of the time, but sometimes you want to have like a lot of control over the colors. So for that, you just take a screenshot, bring it into Photoshop or Photopea or any program, really. All of them have support. Do a lot of tweaks. The greens can be brighter, and then you export a file, and you apply directly that into the browser. These days it's possible, and you can, I don't know, just work on a first draft of the colors, and then apply post-processing to have the final color palette that you want. And then multiplayer. I wanted to do, the motivation to do multiplayer was to me, it feels magical to have multiplayer in the web. To me, even when I'm browsing Figma, if I see another cursor, I'm like, this is, someone is here with me. So it's kind of nice. So I wanted to have that. So there were some secrets scattered around the experience. So I wanted players to help each other. So I did a multiplayer server for it. Basically, I optimized a lot this server because this is an experience, but I made a server that could be used for installations, could be used for any type of experiences, for like the Figma type of thing. So I spent like more than I wanted, really, doing the multiplayer server, because I'm not a backend developer, so I didn't want to like deal with that a lot in the future. And of course, now that we are obsessing over this, you want to obsess. What if I launch something and it has thousands of players? I don't want them, to be stuck or to work bad. So I spent extra time also making sure like everything was scalable, everything could scale up to thousands of players at the same time. And then publishing it. When I was about to publish it, I believed like. When you look at something you've been doing for a couple of months, like every day, like I lose perspective completely, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like so bad. Like it's gonna get 5 likes on Twitter, and so that was my mindset when I published it. But I was more like this raccoon over here. I'm an introvert, so waking up every morning to a lot of like notifications and emails and things like that was. I don't know, these influencers we see on Twitter, I don't know how they have anything, like any work done during the day with all the sounds and all the things, So yeah, this raccoon like really resonated with me. And it won awards. That was very nice. And I don't know, like maybe you are familiar with Hacker News. It's a technology forum. It reached #1 post. And it's very funny because, or at least it is to me, because a lot of the time we care a lot about satisfying animations or composition or color palettes, but these people care about this experience working on an old Nokia phone. That's all they talked about. And having that perspective on things was, I don't know, it showed me that there's also like, this type of really big, type of they prioritize other things above what we do. So finding that middle ground, I think, is something also we should like try to do. And I also saw this tweet by a Japanese person saying that he wished he could make something like this. And that also it resonated a lot with me, because that's how I feel these days. I see younger developers, younger designers doing like amazing things, especially on Twitter, which is the main thing that I use to stay up to date these days. And I'm like, yeah, I wish I could do something like that and something like that. So when I saw this message, I was like, yeah, man, I'm like you. And that's it. Thank you.
Folks.